ahead.
I'm Lainey.
And I'm Laura Beth.
And we are Steel Magnolias.
Two sisters who love family, traditions, and all things Southern.
We've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
All right. Hey, Lainey.
Hi there.
The birds are chirping. It is feeling like spring.
I know. I am so grateful for that.
We're actually in a different setting today. We're over at my house.
Yeah, it may sound a little different. I don't know.
It might.
Acoustics are different in different rooms even.
That's true. I have, we had our schedules that made some changes for today. That's why we're over at my house. And honestly, I wanted to go ahead and just sort of open us with this because it lends to a topic that I wonder if other people struggle with. I have a little bit of hesitation opening up my home very much. Not just your family, so that's a little bit more casual, but we have a dog that, barks, jumps on people, is just ill-behaved, love him to death, but, it's difficult when you have guests over. We have a baby.
Yeah.
We have a very small home that's kind of clunky in some ways. The dining room table is a little bit hard to maneuver around when you've got multiple people in the dining room here. So it's just one of those things where I just wonder if other people struggle with wanting to open their home more than it feels like.
Absolutely. I think most homes have their quirkiness. Mine, the driveway's a little awkward. There's no street parking.
Yeah.
It's an old home, so, I'm almost sometimes want to say, don't use too much toilet paper, but I don't say that.
True. Yeah. Watch
just
the
little
pipes.
things like that.
Yeah.
I think every home, unless you're in some brand new humongous build, has its quirky stuff.
Yeah.
So,
well, I came across a little interesting article in Southern Living this month that I thought was interesting. And since it was already on my mind with us being over here at my house, I thought I would share it. It's called Open Invitation. And it's a story of this woman in Austin, Texas, and how she transformed her neighborhood through this picnic table that was delivered incorrectly. So the story goes that she'd ordered a picnic table.
Okay.
And when it was delivered, they left it under a tree in her front yard. I don't know why.
Okay.
That was just kind of where the delivery was left. So she started getting to think about it, and she herself struggled with opening her home up. And, her struggle was feeling like it needed to be more clean than it always was before she invited people over.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the space, but just the cleanliness. And so she said, of course it was under a magnolia tree, which makes it that much more Southern, right? She had this aha moment, and she knew that some of her neighbor friends were moms that were busy, shuttling kids to and fro. And there was just a lack of connection with her neighbors. She felt that, and I think she felt like the others felt that as well. So she painted her picnic table turquoise, and she started inviting neighbors over for either coffee in the mornings or wine at night.
And sit outside.
Nobody was even coming inside.
Love that.
So she said it really maximized relationships in the neighborhood. Just this, delivery that kind of went sideways.
That is so fun.
That she meant for the backyard.
That is so
keeps
fun.
in the front yard.
It reminds me, even with spring, don't you feel like there's kind of a desire to be outside more?
Yeah.
And I feel that at my house too. Like, I love for people to run around in my backyard, and I have, an easier time with kids running around and stuff than I do in the inside.
Yeah.
Even if it's clean.
Yeah.
It's still like have some step downs into some certain different rooms, and I'm afraid somebody's going to fall and things like that. Whereas the yard, it's kind of more of a free for all.
Yeah.
So that's fun to think about. What could you do to cultivate hospitality outside even?
And I've noticed that we ourselves here, we have larger gatherings when it's nicer weather, when we can do something in our backyard. Our front yard isn't very big, and so we probably wouldn't do that. But this is a thing now. There's turquoise tables in all 50 states now.
How cute.
So she's kind of got this
movement going.
Bright,
just a bright table.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's her way of showing up and loving on her neighbor.
I love that. And here's what came in my mind, because I have not read that article, and just in your mentioning this, when I think about just wonderful hospitality and the moments that I felt just so treasured at somebody's table, it had nothing to do with how big the house was.
Yeah.
How easy the parking was. Like, none of that comes into play at all. In fact, some of and I'm not saying all big homes aren't cozy, but a lot of big homes don't have the cozy feel.
Right.
Where I feel like I can just throw a blanket over me and take my shoes off and put my feet up.
Yeah.
That I feel in a more space-challenged house.
Yes. Yeah.
So even that is kind of funny when you think about, we have in our mind, in order to have this wonderful gathering, it needs to look like XYZ. But the ones that I've had the best time at are not necessarily.
That's good. Yeah.
that.
Yeah. But you also remember the houses where you've had a dog that's jumped all over you and you left with covered in hair, right?
Well,
I mean, I'm just saying.
it's a real thing. I'm not saying it's not a real thing.
Like, I'll just leave it at that.
But some of the fanciest houses I've been in, I felt like I couldn't even sit all the way back on the sofa. Like, I'm on the edge of the chair, not really very comfortable. Like, does that make sense? Like,
I'm certainly not bringing my kid over there, right?
And the marble table, do I even put the glass down on it? Is that, do you, where's the coaster? Because I don't know what's okay and that kind of thing. So, yeah.
So, I guess what I'm saying is, I'm excited to read this story. It affirms that I am better as an outside host, an outside the home, my own home host. And I'm also excited that spring is here and it's moving into my season of hospitality.
And we're about to outdoor entertain.
We are. So we've had a fun already start to April. We just launched our movie ticket giveaway for Steel Magnolias. Steel Magnolias, if you've missed it, is going to be in theaters May 19th, 21st, and 22nd. Nationwide. It's the 30th anniversary. That's why they're doing it. 1989 was
Cannot believe that it was 30 years ago. Because I remember sitting at the theater watching it.
Oh, I didn't tell you. I went and saw To Kill a Mockingbird last week when it was in theaters. So the Steel Magnolias trailer showed before.
Okay.
I cried in the trailer. And this was interesting. I don't think I've ever seen the trailer to Steel Magnolias, or if I have, I was, too little and long forgotten it. In the trailer they showed, they use the theme song to St. Elmo's Fire.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Really?
Or at least the one that they're doing.
That's so funny.
That Fathom Events is putting together.
Which had just been out, the year prior?
I was like, that's a major song. Mm-hmm. It's not like that was a popular song that everyone recognizes.
It was from a major film.
Major film.
Maybe 2 years prior. That's really funny.
I really thought
would use
that music, St. Elmo's Fire theme song with showing Steel Magnolias. I was like,
I would have been
lump in throat.
Too. Yeah.
And I was just thinking, okay, if the trailer is doing this, I don't know. I mean, I definitely am going, but it's
well, let me paint a picture of my experience. I knew it was a, kind of a movie about a mother-daughter and, lots of friendship and that kind of thing. But I didn't know the details of the movie. Because it was 1989. I'm 19 years old and go to the movie with my mom and her best friend. And in the film, something happens that actually I had a health issue and it had happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's seizure.
Yeah. And
Mom and I are like holding each other's hands, just to keep from. I had the largest lump in my throat, suppressing tears.
Yeah.
That I was so uncomfortable.
You were probably sore the next day.
I'll never forget going to see that movie in the theater. Yeah. It's very moving on a number of levels.
Well, those are the sorts of women in our lives, those moments and those seasons that we've walked through that we really wanted to hear about. Some celebrations and some hard things and just everything in between. So our giveaway
from you people
is tell us about the steel magnolia in your life. So we want to hear and we want to see the photo of said steel magnolia. So our contest is on Facebook and Instagram, and we want you to post a picture of the steel magnolia in your life and tell us just in the caption, why this person embodies that sort of sentiment to you, and then tag Steel Magnolias Podcast. You got to hashtag it, so that's the only way we'll see it. And you have till the 10th of April to post those. And we're
get busy.
We have a bunch of pairs of tickets, so don't miss out.
Yeah, get busy, you guys. It'll be
night.
worth it to go see this great film.
Yeah. So we did that. We started that yesterday, and this weekend we're headed to Keeneland. Going up to Kentucky, bourbon country and
horse country.
What all are we going to be doing? You've planned a little bit of our trip. We're going to probably do a little review on our
Do we
next
want to
episode.
say some of the things we're doing? Because some of this isn't about the meetup at Keeneland, but
maybe we'll keep that for our next go around.
Yeah, we'll tell some of the stuff we did. But we are having a meetup.
Yes.
So I know we've got a few that are going to be there. I think with you and I, Laura Beth, we've got at least 8.
Yeah, 8 or 10 people that'll be there.
So if you're going to be at Keeneland, we'd love to meet up with you. We're going to be tailgating, and it's going to be a fun time. So let us know if you're going to come.
Yeah, we've got an event page on Facebook, the Keeneland Spring Meetup. So just RSVP that you're going, so we can look for you. And we can meet up and we can
let
tailgate
you know
together.
where we are and all that. So it'll be a fun time.
That's awesome. Well, the spring has sprung
That's
in
right.
the South.
It's got me thinking.
So we've got a topic today that goes right on par with that, and it was actually covered a good amount in this month's Southern Living. Today we're talking about Southern gardens.
That's right. It's time to start thinking about that garden you're going to do one.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be timely for us to talk.
This is a hard place for me because I don't grow things well. I have a few things I grow well, but I feel like you're really good at... You've got the larger green thumb of the family, I would say. Or just even the heart to have a green thumb.
Maybe it's the heart. And I think one of the first things I wanted to talk about is the soil of a garden. Because that sets you up for success.
Okay.
Or failure.
There you go.
So as far as, I'm more talking vegetable garden here, but it can be for flowers too. I have had the most experience with raised bed gardens. Not tilling the ground. Like that, I've done a little bit. Just rented a tiller or borrowed a tiller and tilled the actual ground.
So that probably gives you a lot more control then, right? Of the soil if you're in a raised bed.
Yes. Now you can add either way if you're using just your dirt that you have. Mm-hmm. There's benefit to if it's good, nutritious soil.
Yeah.
In fact, I laugh thinking about that, red clay dirt that so many people say is horrific. It's actually full of nutrients.
Oh.
It's just you got to loosen it up and help it along in certain ways, but it can grow certain things really well. But I came across a book years ago called Square Foot Gardening.
Oh, yeah. I remember when you were reading that.
And this guy, I can't even remember his last name, but there's Mel's Mix. I've got it memorized in my head. Mel's Mix is his soil.
Okay. His name is Mel.
Recommends. Yeah. And I did want to mention that because if you take the time and invest the money in the soil, pretty much anything you put in it is going to do great.
Okay.
But depending on the size of your raised bed, if you've just got like some kind of a tub that's not too big, this isn't an expensive thing. If you start getting into really big raised beds, setting up this mixture can get a little bit pricier.
You had your raised bed made, right?
I did. I had
Can you just buy
a couple
them,
teenagers build them. You can buy
can you go
them.
to Home Depot and get a raised bed? Or?
Definitely Tractor Supply has a lot of stuff like that.
Okay.
I've even seen them. I saw one at Costco. I didn't look I wasn't shopping for one, so I did see it. I didn't look how big was it and all of that. But there are, ones you can just purchase even online. Yeah, so there's many sources where you can get something like that, or you can have your family member build it, or I hired a couple teenage guys to build 3 for me.
Yeah.
And they're maybe a little bit bigger than I should have had done, but that's okay. You know, you live and learn with all things, and gardening's included.
That's true. Yeah.
So, but this soil mixture I want to mention is 1/3 vermiculite,
Okay.
1/3 peat moss, and 1/3 compost. And you want the compost to be from various sources. So
Okay.
from mushrooms, chicken, like lots of different kinds of compost. The more, the better that you have variety. And I'm just going to keep it at that. 1/3, 1/3, 1/3.
Yeah.
Vermiculite, peat moss, compost. You're going to have to figure out, and you can go online and look up, like, okay, if your bed is 6 by 6 and it's this deep, here's how much you need, 1/3, and figure out how much to purchase of each of these.
Okay.
But I just want to keep it simple.
That's good.
It's the thirds.
Okay.
And then the way I did it that he recommended was laying out a tarp.
Okay.
And kind of dumping
Just
this
mixing.
on there.
Yeah.
And then you can almost like burrito style kind of, because it's heavy. You know, you think, oh, I'm just going to
You need like a giant
stir it up.
spoon.
No, you're not when it's huge amounts.
Yeah.
So I liked that tarp style. And then once it's mixed, you can kind of shovel it in.
That sounds like a good task to get some kids involved in
Absolutely.
too that want to play in
That's
dirt.
right.
Mix this up, everybody. It's time to get our hands dirty.
That's right. And that mixture is full of good nutrition.
Okay.
It's lighter than soil, if you can just imagine, because it's looser and there's good drainage with that peat moss. And so just picture what that would be like. And whatever you're putting in seed form is going to have room to grow. It's getting good nutrition. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why it's so good.
Yeah.
So if you'll put a little effort into your soil first, you're setting yourself up for success instead of just...
Everything starts with a solid foundation.
It's true.
Preach, right?
It is. It's so true. So I wanted to mention that because the root systems and germination and all that is so healthy in a soil like that.
That's good. That's good. So what kinds of things do you like planting?
Well, again, live and learn, right? As you go. I've tried lots of different things. And it's fun. I was actually surprised how much joy I have from putting a seed in the ground and then having something I can eat.
That's amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah.
But there's certain things that either because they take up too much room or they're so slow growing or they need so much tending that I have on a personal level said that's not worth it to me. One of which was corn. I had planted probably, I don't know how many corn seeds I put in the raised bed. But just picture, even as you've been driving down the road, how tall corn gets. Now the corn is shading other things that I wanted to get sun. And do you see where I'm going with this? It's a lot, and it's too much trouble for a raised bed. Yeah, you're going to want. If you're tilling the ground and you've got tons of room, maybe go for it. Because it was cool to watch it grow, and I did eat it. Yeah. But it just was a lot for, 3 raised beds. It took up a lot of my room, and it shaded other things that
that's important too.
That it kind of messed me up a little bit. So I'm not doing corn anymore. I'm letting the other farmers do that, and I'll just buy it. Yeah. Broccoli was super slow growing, and I didn't get much yield off of the broccoli. Maybe I did something wrong, but I had it in this great soil. I got a little bit. It just wasn't worth it to me either. So I stick to some of the things that do really well, that aren't too much trouble, that I eat a good bit in the summer, and that's tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers. And I like a variety of peppers. I've done like the banana peppers. I've even done little Thai peppers because, as you know, I like to cook Asian food, and some various lettuces.
That's cool.
Which is fun because, the more you pick it off, the more it grows too. Like
That's
it just,
cool.
And I love to plant herbs.
Now, I will say, I have a friend, Lindsay Hagwood Smither. Shout out to her. She's going to get mentioned
Lindsay.
a few times on this episode because she studied horticulture and has her own landscaping business in Charleston and has been there for about 15 years.
Some of the most beautiful gardens you'll find
Yes.
are in Charleston.
So she answered a few questions for me in terms of this topic.
Okay.
And I asked her about what would you say are like 1 to 3 things that every Southern home can plant.
Okay.
And I was talking about, like we are today, food or flowers.
Oh, okay.
Either one. And she did say garden herbs.
Yeah, herbs
were
are
top
so
of her
fun,
list.
too. And if you like to cook, you know the importance of fresh herbs. It's not the same thing as a dried herb or, both have their place, but fresh herbs is where it's at if you want a lot of flavor.
Yeah. She recommended rosemary, thyme, oregano, and lavender. Okay. All 4 of those in as much sun as possible.
Okay.
So.
In the summer, I have to have basil. It's it's at the top of mine.
Yeah.
And I've had good luck growing basil too. And I also would say rosemary, thyme,
Lavender's
oregano.
so pretty.
Lavender's so pretty. I don't use it a lot in cooking. I've got a couple recipes I want to try though. I've got a lavender shortbread I'd like to try.
That sounds yummy.
Yeah, but, and then there's a couple I've tried that I can't seem to do well. Cilantro, I love cilantro, but I can't.
Really?
I don't know what
It's
I'm
tougher.
doing wrong with that, but.
Now, you mentioned cucumbers, right? Wasn't that one of the ones? I have heard that cucumbers need a lot of space, right? They kind of.
Yeah, you can kind of train them where they're going, maybe up a lattice kind of a thing where they're hanging. So it's not taking up just ground space.
Okay.
But, they can need a lot of space. But, gosh, those are fun to have, too. Just fresh cucumbers, also fun to share. That's another thing that's fun about a garden. So, a lot of times a lot will come at once.
Yep.
And then you get to share it with your neighbors and friends.
You could put them out on your turquoise picnic
on
table
your
out
picnic
front.
table in a cute little basket. I mean, really, that would be so fun. I haven't put a lot of effort into growing greens. That's something I more buy at the store, collards, mustards. But I told Mom I wanted to do some this summer. I want to try experimenting with some of that. Another big Southern veggie that we have is okra.
Yep.
Okra is used in a lot of gumbos, and our dad loves fried okra.
Yeah,
fried up in a little cornmeal, and he's happy eating that. That's not my favorite thing, so I have not grown okra.
Yeah.
But, anyway, I know that's a big Southern veggie that lots of people would want to make sure was in their garden. Squashes grow really easily.
Okay,
That's another thing that grows, you can kind of train it because it, I don't know if you'd call that climbs, but it goes out. Yeah. So you want to kind of train it so that it's dangling and not just going out everywhere, taking up tons of space.
Yeah.
But squashes are easy to grow here, and so that's something you'll see in a lot of summer gardens.
Okay.
And some people even, I guess this, time of year it would be more gourds of sorts would be more for the fall, I think.
Fall, yeah.
But I wanted to mention that if you've ever been driving on roads in the South and you've seen gourds, they're painted white and hanging in bunches. Those are really a cool way to gather martins, the birds.
Oh.
They love gourd houses, and they're white so that it's not too hot in there.
That's amazing. I have wondered in the past what that was
for. And I would love to do something like that because attracting martins in your yard, they eat insects and mosquitoes, and
nice.
So it's you want a lot of those. And then I know people will grow gourds, and then, you know, it's pretty easy to clean them out. You just drill holes and then cut the door.
Okay.
Clean it out, kind of like think about like cleaning out a pumpkin or something, and dry them, and then they paint them and hang them.
Yeah.
For the birds. You can put a little, I think people even put a little hay or something in there.
Oh my gosh, that's
And they
awesome.
like to go in there. And if you do that, look up online. I did look it up, and they recommend that you cut the little door, if you will, in like a cylinder shape, not a circle.
Oh, so that they have a landing ledge?
Well, so the starlings don't. Starlings will kind of take over, and they're mean to the martins and stuff like that, and you want the martins. And so I guess the cylinder door is something that a martin can get in a starling can or something.
Interesting.
Anyway, check that out if you want to
So
grow
much
gourds.
technique to all of this.
And even, you know, I didn't jot this in my notes, but bats are great to have around for eating insects. And there's very few bats that are, you know, people think of that vampire bat that's a bloodsucker. That most bats are really good to have around. So, you know, there's wooden bat houses that you can hang to try to attract that. I don't know how many we would have around here.
Yeah.
They do exist, but I don't know. But you definitely could get martins to
come help
if you set up a housing system for them.
That's cool.
So anyway, gosh, I'm getting excited talking about this, but onions is another thing that a lot of people like to grow. I think about, you know, just a veggie plate. You often will have just, you know, those green onions to eat. Just people eat them just raw that. Like our Aunt Phyllis used to grow big ones.
Yes. And I like literally think of, when I think of her husband TJ, I imagine him sitting under some sort of a pavilion chomping on a big green onion.
Green onion? Yeah, I mean, people left that with their
as if it's an apple, like that big.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
So, eggplant is a great thing to grow in your summer garden. And then we have a lot, not that this is necessarily, this wouldn't be in a raised bed garden, it would be in the ground, but berries grow really well here.
They do.
There's even wild berries that grow, but, you know, sometimes when you plant those, you got to give it a few years before it's yielding fruit. So, I don't have berries.
Yeah.
Our dad does.
Yes. I've already asked him about his blueberries and grapes and how those are going to be for the year. So,
yeah. And of course, the South, we're known for peaches as well.
Yes.
And those are obviously trees, but nothing better than a really juicy peach in the summer. I mean, where you just gotta eat it over the sink.
Thirsty right now for
have you
it.
ever done that? Just like eating it over the sink because it's going everywhere. I love that.
That's so great.
Cantaloupes. I mean, I could go on and on. There's so many things you can grow. Just gotta see what size garden you have and kind of determine what you're going to tackle. But even if you have an apartment and all you have is a little tiny patio, if you get enough sun, you can do some tomatoes, some herbs.
That's right.
I mean,
absolutely.
You know, and have some freshness in your food, even some lettuce.
Yeah. And you could even grow herbs in some of those hanging, you know, if you had, let's say you just had like a little concrete patio.
Yep.
If you have a fence, you could hook on one of those like window hanging kinds of baskets and get some.
There's a lot you can do if you get some sun on your little
some herbs going there.
Patio. I wanted to mention seeds.
Okay.
One thing that I do find interesting with growing food is, you know, soil matters, like I said, but seed matters too.
Yeah.
And I've gotten seeds from just, you know, Home Depot or even our local co-op. But if you can get your hands on some seeds that are more like heirloom seeds or something that's been going for a long time, and you can get your hands on seeds like that, your food's going to have a lot more flavor. Like these seed companies. Yeah. Just think about a seed company. All they care about is money. I mean, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean? That sounds so tacky, but
that's their product.
Big agriculture, they're wanting to make money, and they don't care how much flavor is in it. They just want it to grow everywhere.
True.
For every zone.
Yeah.
If the USDA has
Is it?
hardiness zones.
Yeah.
I think most of the South is 6 to 10.
Okay.
Like I think we're 7-ish, 8-ish.
Okay.
Kentucky's probably 6. But as you go down, the hardiness zones change and what does well.
Yep.
A big ag seed company is going to want squash seeds that are found in 1 or 10.
That's true.
Okay, we don't care where
That's
you are.
true.
We want it to grow to some degree, and we don't care how much flavor's in there.
Yeah.
They're not going to say that. But if you could get your hands on some squash seeds from Pawpaw's garden, like it might have a lot more flavor.
Right.
That's all I'm saying is that kind of stuff matters too. And we have a local chef. I just wanted to mention his name. He's local to Nashville now, but he's from Virginia and used to be in Charleston, and that's Sean Brock.
Yep.
And he has a real heart for good seed.
Yep.
And I've heard that his new place that he's opening
East Nashville,
is going to have a kind of a seed program or something.
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
excited about that aspect of it, just to see what he does. And
Yeah.
I don't know what to expect, but
Yeah.
I do know that he knows about the importance of good seeds.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
That's
just wanted to
awesome.
mention that.
What about, so that is all food, edible.
Yeah, veggie
Gardening.
stuff. But there's
What are your
beauty.
What are your thoughts on some of the, because, this is probably one of the areas I've at least given more of a shot. I haven't grown much beyond herbs to eat, but I do have a couple of good plants and flowers around. I will say I love spring in the South, but I dislike the smell that comes out in full force via the Bradford pear trees.
Yeah, that is
Whew,
a strange
you have
smell,
never
isn't
smelled a fishy smell like you have
It's a strange.
with the Bradford
They're so
pear
pretty
tree.
too.
They're
but
gorgeous.
They are a strange smell, and
And it always surprises me every year. I'm like, what's that smell? It smells like fish. Why would it smell like fish right now?
funny.
Oh, yeah. Bradford pear trees.
that is so funny.
Yeah, they're gorgeous, but they stink. In
Yeah,
fact,
and I am not a tree expert. In fact, I got tickled today because somebody was asking what kind of tree something was, and I was like, "Is it a Bradford pear?" And this person was like, "No, it's not a Bradford pear." And they had, because they had more knowledge on trees than I do. I don't necessarily know all my flowering trees, but anyhow, mention that. Hey, before we move to flowers, can I say one more funny about veggies?
oh, yeah.
Just a couple southern things that I wanted to mention vegetable wise.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever heard of, I think people usually would pronounce it kilt lettuce. Like it's killed lettuce, Killed, but
it
people
sounds
say
like
kilt.
kilt. No,
Kilt
I
lettuce.
haven't.
You've never heard of that?
No.
So that is a southern thing that I just wanted to mention, where people cook some onion in bacon grease.
Okay.
And then just throw the lettuce in there, kind of, wilt it and cook that together. And they say kilt lettuce. Lettuce.
Have you had it?
I don't know if I have or not, to be honest. Like, I feel like I would have had that dish, but didn't know it was called that. And then I've heard of kilt lettuce and kilt lettuce. And so, anyway, I don't know, but I just wanted to mention that because that's so funny to me.
I'd like to try it. I like everything you described that's in it.
Yeah,
so
I've cooked things like that, spinach like that and different things. And then the other one I wanted to mention was poke salad. Have you ever heard?
I've heard of it.
Poke salad,
but is it POKE? Yeah, I've heard of that. I don't think I've had it.
I may have to take a picture in our yard because we get pokeweed.
Okay.
Pokeweed is a weed that comes up, and it's actually poisonous.
Oh.
It's toxic. But people would make poke salad, and it was, it's usually poor people who've eaten poke salad. Like, it's not if you have a lot of food available, it's not like you're going to pick to eat poke salad.
Okay.
But for people that didn't have a lot of food and it grows real hardy, it grows real tall and thick, but you want to get it when it's young and low, like before it's real tall, because it gets more toxic.
Oh my gosh, how interesting.
But yes, you in the South will hear people mention poke salad, and people would.
So you can eat it.
You can, but I think you kind of got to know what you're doing. I don't know that. I mean, I wouldn't tackle
Okay, so not user recommended. Do not hear us endorsing to grow this and eat this and serve this to your family.
But I did want to mention those two things because
that's hilarious.
Just very Southern veggie. Like I think of those things. When I think of the South. So, but let's move on to pretty.
Well, I was just also going to say, I saw a story that the city of Fayetteville, Arkansas, is offering a bounty for residents that are willing to remove their Bradford pear trees. Mm-hmm. Like they'll give you a native tree to the area if you will just take your Bradford pear tree down.
Hysterical.
They're that invasive and that...
Well, I remember growing up in Brentwood, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
We had the Pear Fest.
Pear Tree Festival. Pear Fest.
And the city was lined with Bradford pears along Franklin Road.
Yeah.
And then storms would come through, and half of them would split. They split really bad.
Yeah.
And so it seems like a great idea until then you have a mess on your hands. But anyway.
I loved Pear Fest. They had great games and entertainments and... It is no more.
It is no more. And the area where it used to be is so built up that mansion looks so close to Franklin Road now to me. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
It looks so weird. Anyway, I digress. We're getting
Well, if you live in Fayetteville, they are not only getting behind this, but they are rewarding you with a native tree if you'll just get rid of the Bradford pear. So I thought that was interesting.
That is fascinating. Well, let's talk beautiful flowers in the South.
Yes.
And at the top of my list is always my favorite flower, the peony, or some people say peony.
I was going to mention that too. Mine are starting to bloom out.
Yours are always ahead of mine too.
And
they're faster to come up.
So funny to me because, we have to cut them down, obviously, when they're after they've bloomed and after they've had their season. But yeah, always around Easter, they're ready to bloom. And it's funny, it seems like it knows when Easter falls.
Oh, no matter if it's early or late.
Yeah.
That's fun.
But they're quite ugly when they first start coming up. I mean, I always think, is that going to be the peony this year? And, sure enough it is. But it's already moved past like the real ugly phase. It's more than a couple of inches up. Yeah. So now I'm already seeing buds on there where they're going to bloom. Fun. That is one gorgeous flower. Those are white that I've got. But
there's so many varieties.
I think I have, hopefully, a light pink one that's on the other side of my house.
I saw your tulips are coming up, too. They look so pretty.
Yeah, so our great aunt Betty and Uncle Howard
used to have some big peony bushes.
And I've got one on the side that was hers that we transplanted from her house in East Tennessee. It's my only heirloom from Aunt Betty, so I'm really hoping it lives.
It'll come through. Well, peonies are something that people even will to people. Did you know that?
No.
Like that is something sometimes, in fact, I asked a realtor one time, just curious, like, hey, if you do put a house on the market, how does it work with your flowers and stuff?
That's a good question.
And she said you would have to, anything that you're planning on taking needs to be out of the ground. Before you
show?
Or you have to say that it doesn't go with the house, just like you would a chandelier or something.
Yeah.
She was like, so you need a good friend that's willing to, hold it for you in some way or something if you can, because it needs to be set up front. And
I can get that though, because
if you've grown
good landscaping makes a huge
for 30
difference.
Years,
yeah,
you don't want to. It doesn't go with the house.
But if you walk up to a house and there's this gorgeous peony,
then you're expecting that you're getting
exactly.
It could
sell. It could. It's that curb appeal that could sell you on it. Yeah.
So I was kind of bummed because, as you know, I'm grieving a good friend moving, who's my neighbor, and she had many varieties of peony, and they're all staying because I asked her, and I was hoping I was going to get to.
You're like, but
I'll do the dig up.
Yeah,
just let me.
Can we just put a Post-it note? Goes 2 doors down, please.
Exactly. So anyway, But
Wow.
I just wanted to mention that because people literally will, pass those on or will those to people. And
absolutely.
I just think that's interesting because they can live for, 50 years or whatever.
It's a big one.
Longer. I also love climbing roses. Those are something that are really fun if you've got the right spot to have. That's and you can cut both of these, and I always think it's fun to have things you can cut and bring inside.
Amazing. Yeah.
There's quite a few flowers that you can do that with, some of which I've done and some I haven't. Gladiolas are really beautiful to bring inside, too. They're real tall. You know what I'm talking about? That have lots of flower come off of them.
Yes.
Those look so pretty when you bring them inside.
Yeah. Those are a variety of colors, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Many colors. And right now there's a lot of, like, the daffodils, tulips, all of those are up now. Those are early spring bloomers. And we've both got quite a few iris. We've got irises. Mine are... the stalks are up, but the flowers are not even close. Yeah. That's a little bit later. But many varieties of those. In fact, we have a place here in Nashville called Iris City Gardens. And they
Where's that?
have... I went with Dad one time.
Okay. It's in Nashville?
It's in the Nashville area. It's outside of Nashville. But they have, oh my goodness, hundreds of varieties of iris. It's like I never knew there could be so many varieties. But quite beautiful. Another easy to plant flower, and kids have so much fun with them, are zinnias.
Okay.
And they need a lot of sun.
Yeah.
I've done those both tilling the ground and in a raised bed. You can do it either way.
Okay.
But they do need a lot of sun.
Yeah.
They attract a lot of butterflies, which is really fun to watch. But there's so much color. And so one of the best parts of that to me is you get so many, and they're small. Yeah. But you get so many that it's fun to make little bouquets to share with people.
Absolutely.
So... if you have kids and you want to do something easy, get a few packs of zinnia and plant those. Yeah. They're really fun.
Yeah.
Sunflowers are fun, too.
You can't not smile looking at a sunflower.
Yeah. And even just watching how they turn to the sun. I think it's so fun to watch. Yeah. They do get super tall.
Yeah.
And super thick. So you need almost them by a fence line or by something that you can tie them up, because otherwise they're going to fall over, break. It's frustrating when you have gorgeous sunflower coming up and then it breaks because it falls over. So you almost need something you can, some kind of trellis you can tie it to, or fence line.
That's a good point.
To tie it to, but they are really fun to watch grow. Hydrangeas are one of my favorites.
Mine as well. That was one of the ones that Lindsay over in Charleston recommended. She recommended actually the mop head.
Okay.
I hadn't heard it referred to as that. Mop head hydrangeas. That's what I would consider more of a bush. Uh-huh. You know what I mean? Like
snowball bush kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is,
that's usually the mop head hydrangea look. But
the lime, I think there's one called Limelight that's a nice bush too. It's more of the like really white lime green kind of color.
Okay.
Those are nice.
She mentioned azaleas. It's a classic.
Oh, those are beautiful.
They can be tender in the coldest of southern climates, is what she said. And camellias.
Yes.
Further south in, she called it zone 8 and up. So she was referring to the zones like you were earlier. And
zone 8 and up meaning zone 8, 9, and 10. Yes. So actually down.
Excuse me.
Map.
Yeah. And what else did she mention? Pansies in the winter and verbena. Do you know that one? Verbena and I don't know how to say that. Alyssum?
I don't know how to pronounce that either. Maybe. That's how it's spelled.
Yeah. But of course, the most iconic is the magnolia tree.
Yes.
So,
magnolia. There's many varieties of those too. And, you know, they bloom at different times. And my blooms are always so high, I can't actually get to them.
Yes, I know.
Because our trees are so massive. But we have a camellia. You mentioned camellia in the backyard. You know, right by where you just hung that swing.
Yeah.
That's a camellia. But I also jotted down a lot of the state flowers from the South.
Ooh,
and the camellia
what a
is
great idea.
Alabama's.
Okay. It's a great idea to look at.
I just jotted down. Georgia's is the Cherokee Rose.
Okay.
Florida's the Orange Blossom, which is
Okay,
kind of
that
not
makes
a surprise.
sense.
Louisiana and Mississippi, both the Magnolia.
Oh, they got the Magnolia.
They got the Magnolia. Tennessee's the Iris.
I remember that from social studies.
Kentucky's the Goldenrod.
Okay.
Virginia, flowering dogwood. Arkansas, apple blossom.
Oh, fun.
Texas, the Texas bluebonnet.
Oh, yeah.
North Carolina, the flowering dogwood. Also, Virginia and North Carolina both have that. South Carolina, yellow jessamine. Jessamine? I don't know that.
I don't know that either. I'd have to look that up.
Missouri, the hawthorn. And Maryland, the black-eyed Susan. So those are some of the southern state flowers.
Yeah. There's so many. Lindsay also mentioned Big Daddies and Endless Summer and Nico
those are
Blues.
hydrangeas.
Those are all hydrangeas? Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well.
Endless Summer is one of the biggest popular blue versions.
Okay.
And I want to mention that too about hydrangeas is you can change some of the, like Endless Summer, I'm not sure if that's one, but some of the varieties, the color is from the soil. It's
you told me
you
that
add
once.
acid or you add alkaline depending on what color you want it to be. Do you want it more pink? Do you want it more blue?
Yeah.
And I've experimented with that, and it's pretty. I mean, it's true. Like
that's wild.
I know.
So, what did you get, or do you remember?
I prefer the blues,
okay,
and the purples, like the more of that color.
I do too.
And I can't remember if that meant I had to add. I feel like I had to add acid, but I don't remember.
Okay,
and you can buy it like in powder form, like this, whatever, and you just add it to your soil to make the color change. If you preferred the pink, you add the other, but just look that up. You can Google that and find how to change that. But there's so many varieties. There's an oak leaf that's more of like a cone shape variety. There's lots of different ones. So,
well, I will say this. I know I've mentioned Southern Living already a couple of times today, but they do, every issue has a really good around the garden section that helps me, since I'm still very green at learning much of this, with a checklist of things that you should be planting, fertilizing, controlling, staying away from. Like, what should you be doing month to month?
And, that kind of stuff matters with gardening. We didn't get into that, but like I got a text today. Is it okay for me to split my hostas right now? Absolutely. Now's the second best time of the year to do it. Would be best in more the fall time, but now is the second best. So do it. Don't wait till they're already up. You just want them in that barely popping up stage,
there's so much you can mess up just from not knowing, what you're doing. So, I would, if you aren't already a Southern Living subscriber, one, why not? But two, at least for that reason alone, just to get some help
good
in
tips
that area. Lindsay has such great pictures from Charleston Gardens that she gets to tend, and she's right downtown. I mean, she's serving very large homes. Really,
some of the South Abroad community, as they call it.
I don't think she's got any battery clients, but she's got lots of just gorgeous homes that she gets to serve. So we're actually going to let her take over our Instagram this week and post a bunch of photos. I would say one of the things that really stands out when you walk the streets of Charleston are some of their window boxes.
They're known for that,
And she does a lot of those. So we're going to let her just kind of take over and inspire us. And
they even sometimes will have watering systems in those, so that it's more controlled. I've never gotten to do that. My window boxes haven't done very well because you have to really stay on the watering.
I'm sure. Yeah, when I first sent her a picture of my new home when I moved in here, new to me home, she was like, oh, you need some window boxes. Like that was really what she saw when she looked at the house. And I was like, really?
That's so cute.
People don't really do that in the back of this subdivision that I'm hidden in. But
if you do, I would see how much it would cost to have the watering system with them.
Yeah.
Just because it is hard to stay on.
Oh, I'm sure.
If you're going to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's her job.
Right.
She gets hired to take care of those
people get to have hired help
tasks.
For this task.
Yeah. Well, fun. Well, there are lots of different directions that you can go. One thing I was going to mention is that there are some spring garden parties that are coming up that the Home Depot puts on.
Oh, fun.
So they invite Southern Living editors and experts to come to different cities. And I know they're going to be in Nashville on Saturday, April 20th, but they're going to be all over the South. And so at the Garden Center.
Okay.
And they're just going to be sharing different things about, planting and just giving some inspiration.
Giving some tips.
So we'll put a link in our show notes to the spring garden parties at Home Depot,
cute.
if that's something of interest to you. But yeah, they're all through Georgia and Tennessee, and they're down in Louisiana. So
for our southern listeners that want to up the ante on your garden.
Exactly.
I would love to see pictures if anybody, like throughout the spring and summer, if you have some fun pictures from your garden or something that you tried for the first time or any of that. Like, I'd love to see what people are doing.
Yeah.
I'll even commit to do the same.
Okay.
I'll try and, take a few pictures of things.
# Still Magnolias podcast.
Yes.
Well, good. Well, I hope that inspires you and gives you a little nudge to get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves, and get in the dirt a little. We will have lots of fun things to tell you about after our weekend in Kentucky.
Yes.
So if you haven't already, like we said at the front, start thinking about the steel magnolia in your life and share a photo and tell us a little bit about her or them. It doesn't have to be just one person. We'd love to hear about it. But that's going to do it for this episode of the podcast.
Y'all make it a good week.
Yes, we'll see you here next time.